What is your favorite game? I asked a couple of my friends this and they all said the usual. Elden Ring, 2K, Call of Duty, The Good One, Little Nightmares, that one's surprising. Regardless, it's pretty normal behavior. For me, I'm kind of a pussy. I don't have a favorite game. I am a proud fence sitter.
Oh brother, this guy stinks!
Discussing my favorite games can be a little tricky. Some games wouldn't raise an eyebrow, and some will make you think I'm trolling.
Oh, bro.
For a little context, half a year ago, I released a video about the Kendrick and Drake beef. It became my biggest video, and it hit over 100k views. It was cool and all, but I wanted to live up to that performance, and as you can see, that didn't happen. Even though since I released my best video, I got really demotivated from that. I thought I would get over it eventually, and that didn't happen as well. I would be especially mad over my mentality when writing future scripts. Either videos that I was writing about have videos made that were way better, or I would just lose motivation entirely. This is due to my suffering attention span. I could not sit and write for longer than a minute, and boom, I became Corey Kenshin. Oh wait, never mind, he uploaded too. Multiple times.
I can explain.
Anyway, to try to keep myself back on a productive mindset, I tried playing some nostalgic games, mainly ones that would restore my attention span's life back. And on my journey to find this, I played Flower. I remember playing it like twice when it came out and I never touched it again. Rewatching the game made me interested in a game where you do this for a couple hours, and I wondered if it could help me. And the result? I mean, you're watching the video right now.
Not just a folder, it's a rock.
It's hard to justify why a game I played 2 months ago ended up on my favorites list. It's definitely unjustifiable, but I'll try my best. Flower is a game about a flower, released exclusively for the PS3. In this game you play as a petal that falls off a flower and you fly around a beautiful landscape collecting more petals. Eventually, you would use these petals to breathe life back into dull and dark areas. Flower uses this simple premise to its full use, using color, music, and gameplay to make this into the most unexpected amazing experience. The gameplay is kind of weird. You control the wind used to fly the petals across the level. The mechanics used to fly were mainly used by motion sensing or 6-axis, which was the first time PlayStation implemented this device. Every movement you make with the controller, the object will follow that movement. If you haven't experienced something like that, then you definitely felt the vibrancy feature. If you die in Call of Duty due to a grenade, every time Kratos slams the blade of chaos, every time you shoot a gun in any game and the controller vibrates, that's 6-axis. It's very common today, but back then it wasn't used as much. I played the remastered version on PS4, and the controller works so fluently with the game's tone. I would play this game every time I got frustrated or needed to relax. The movement makes the gameplay have impact. You really feel like you're the wind pushing and gliding across these places. This immersion does wonders for the type of game it's trying to be. It's not hard, but it's a bit tricky to get the hang of it. I like the little challenge it gives by just being a new mechanic that I never tried before. It makes the experience a lot better so it's not repetitive. To enhance the gameplay, the music being played is some of the best I've ever listened to. The soundtracks in this game have to be perfect since there's no dialogue to accompany you. The soundtrack is the dialogue. Throughout the story, the soundtrack varies from a peaceful song as you sway by a grassy meadow to a dark and gloomy song the next. The music reminds me a lot of Minecraft, and it does a lot of the same things to evoke the player's feelings. The first thing you see when you play is a worn out but bright flower contrasted to a gray-scaled city. A cutscene then plays of the same gray city with strobing red and yellow lights flashing. Flower has a dream-like essence to its story, the feeling of flying endlessly without cares in the world, or people's dreams that can impact the world. I'm gonna put on my straw hat real quick because the levels I'm about to do is gonna be insane. You know how time lapses of cars look like this? That's what I think this scene is trying to convey. All the dreams that can impact the world are in those cars, full of color around a world ready to see it. It sounds like a reach, and it kind of is, but it will make more sense later on. We then cut to the most gorgeous landscape ever. It kinda looks like a flower's dream, come on! As I described, you control the petals around the field. As you gather more petals, you bring gloomy parts of the field some color. The sound effects when you blossom a flower or change the landscape come straight out Sophia the First. It feels so magical and satisfying every time you change the environment around you. As the level goes, the music swells up just a little bit. To accompany this, the wind moves faster as you gain more petals. The more areas you change, little flowers will start to grow in places where it wouldn't. At the end of this level, you use all the petals you found and then some to build this tree. In a final shockwave, you're granted to see the landscape thrive with color. This first level is great in establishing what emotions you should be feeling. The gameplay is freeing and alive with no signs of life shown. And I cannot stress this enough how much the music encapsulates this experience. Playing Flower with music in the background felt so calming. The next level shows us that we are back to square one. The landscape around us is the same gray as the city we once saw. The music at first sounds kinda somber, but while you gain more petals and give more life, the music sounds uplifting again without needing to change its sound. That's one of the beautiful things about Flower's music. There's only 8 songs for the game, and while some songs get more intense as the level progresses, some stay on the same loop and the player's actions help change your perspective of the song. When you have your big impact moments, you have more range with it. You start to impact stuff 100 times larger than the petal you started with. You move huge rocks and even a canyon. This dream aspect is the flower starting to have a more powerful impact on the world. It makes the origin of just a tiny flower petal being able to make this a lot more powerful. The next level is my favorite. Despite the dream analysis, this level is what made Flower in my top games. Yes, it's still the same objective, but I think that's a good thing for this game. To explain this feeling, I'm going to talk about the creative for a sec. Flower was made by Genova Chen, the co-founder of That Game Company. He has a different philosophy when it comes to games. He believes that how games invoke emotions is the most powerful thing a game can offer. More recently, he's been trying to convince the world that video games are art and wants to be respected as other art forms. Flow, Journey, Sky, all of his projects had the intention to put gaming as a contender with other pieces of art. This makes sense to how he developed Flower. He wanted this game to be more like an interactive art piece. I guess he created what he set out to make. It's so calming and surprisingly fun whooshing through canyons and wind turbines. Sometimes I wouldn't even collect flowers. I would just fly around for a little bit. I think this was crucial to having an immersive world. If you have a big open world but don't give any reason to explore it, what's the point? Compared to most in-game worlds, this is relatively small, but the atmosphere is so welcoming and flying in this level especially is extremely fun. The wind turbines make you fly faster, so instead of getting flower petals, I would just take another lap around the canyon. Going back to the reason I played this game, my attention span was cooked. I couldn't do anything or otherwise without leaving to do something else. I don't remember the last time I did something for a long period of time without getting distracted. And while I enjoyed the first 2 levels, I still occasionally got off and did something else. This level didn't. I stayed on for the entire experience and then some. This is exactly what I asked for. Level 4 starts in the same field but at night. The petal takes on a bright glowing blue as you travel through other blue particles and streetlights. The atmosphere feels more dreamy than ever. The level design is intentionally more simple compared to the previous levels to make it more peaceful. Suddenly, after you light up a streetlight, the music takes a dark turn as the area fills up with darkness. The more you follow the path, the more dark it becomes. Once an open and colorful field, now a black, destroyed city. It's a lot more claustrophobic compared to the freedom you had, and even though it's at the end of the level, it foreshadows what lies ahead. The 5th level is a complete opposite to what we know. The entire landscape is black and gray. There's debris and dead trees everywhere. You rarely change the environment around you, only making a lighter gray. At some points, the environment rejects the player by shocking them back. You have to go through tight spaces in order to gain a few petals. This feels like a nightmare. I was really surprised when I first saw this. It immediately grabbed my attention. Obviously, I would have taken the more previous levels, but this drastic shift in tone made me engaged. And I didn't touch on this before, this game does have some themes of environmentalism and how plants and machines can coexist. This level makes it obvious that this will be about a flower's dream. The flower in between levels are stuck between an environment full of machines, so it dreams about flying around in a fully environment to landscape freely. It makes sense that its nightmare will be the ever-growing industry destroying it. It's kinda sad to see a landscape be decimated by fallen rubble. We don't even get to see a final cutscene showing your impact. It just fades to black. The last level shows us, however, that there is still some light. Some parts of the world begin to blossom back up. You get to take all the petals you want as you break away from this nightmare. The climax speeds up as you now add color to the grass. You shatter large pieces of metal when you touch it. You get to freely move across buildings and empty roads. It feels exhilarating to change this dull world into a wonderful city. I can't do this ending justice by just talking about it. I can't do this game justice either. This game is heavily carried by visual storytelling, and it feels a lot more emotional playing it than watching it. I've seen a lot of people review this game and they all cried when playing this ending, and even though I didn't, I can understand where they're coming from. It just feels good to give life to this world. After all, Flower was intended to invoke positive feelings within the player, and it did a really good job. The dreamlike aspect to this game goes beyond its storytelling. You can pick at different ideas for a dream and it will fit in the same narrative of Flower. After I finished it, I've wondered what impact this game had on me. I knew it did, but I didn't know why. I think now as I'm writing the script, besides all the dream and environment topics, I think at its core, Flower is about appreciating the world, and that's what makes it beautiful. Sometimes I would see a beautiful part of the world and I would just sit there and look at it in wonder. It's so relaxing. The game doesn't want anything other than your attention and holds your hand as it tells a simple story on how a small flower petal changes the world. And I appreciate what the game sets out to be. I never wanted an allegory on dreams impacting the world or environmentalism. I don't really think about that stuff, but other people do. This game, while having some messages, doesn't force you to think about it and just takes you along for the ride. It gives the player variety in how they feel about the game after they play it. And in return, Flower, Journey, Sky, That Game Company, and Genova Chen himself left an impact. I know his goal is to try to make video games art in the public's eye, but he's already proven that. Art is an expression of human emotion, and other people can use their emotion to have their own interpretations of it. Video games have always been that. Even the mindless shooters in sports games is art. They leave their impact by giving the player enjoyable experiences that will be with them forever. And that variety is what makes Flower an amazing art piece. Some people played this game when they needed to escape depression, some liked the theme of dreams and plants and the industry coexisting, and some just wanted to relax. For me, I finally sat down and wrote a script without unnecessary breaks. I know it doesn't seem huge in comparison, but for me, it's all I asked for, and I couldn't ask for a better experience. That's why one of my favorite games is about a flower. Thank you for watching this filler episode if you're still listening. It's kind of weird making this video as my videos has a lighter tone, so it's out of my comfort zone. But I think it turned out pretty well. I might make a video on Sky, the Children of Light when I get around to playing it. If you have any other ideas that I would make a video about, please let me know in the comments. My work is done, and I'll see you next month.